The 2024 UEFA Euro is finished. From impromptu Gareth Southgate lookalike serenades to the Scottish fighting to save their lives on and off the pitch, to Ronald Koeman having a mid-game snack, to hooligans fighting in the streets just for none of their countries to walk away with the trophy. It's been a wild ride. Michael Oliver deserved this. Spain won every single one of their games, 7 out of 7. Player of the tournament, Rodri, Spanish. Young player of the tournament, Lamine Yamal, Spanish. Top goal scorer, Dani Olmo, Spanish. And to top it all off, their coach has absolutely no reason to be this jacked. England win on penalties. Let's go 4-2 to England on pens. Hey everyone, hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Euro, Spain on track for a whole new dynasty it seems, and what to do about England, back-to-back final losses, and the stepping down of Gareth Southgate. I was out watching England vs Switzerland with some friends a couple weeks ago when that came on, and I talked to a few people about their sentiments surrounding the Euro as a whole, and I found that it was quite mixed. On one hand, this tournament was quite boring. It is true, and for a lot of reasons too. There were a lot of games that epitomized the modern, slow, tactical, chess-like nature of the game, where sideways passes, baits, traps, and feints are used to goad mistakes. Mistakes that rarely happen more than 2 or 3 times in a full 90-minute high-pressure knockout match. Take most of France's games, England's games. There are a lot of examples. But this is where knockout international football is and has been going for a long time now. It seems that everyone's kind of collectively come to the decision that it's a lot easier to nullify the opposition than to overwhelm them, regardless of whether you have the talent or not. On the flip side, this tournament was fascinating purely from a storyline perspective. Romania vs Ukraine was a 3-0 masterclass in bangers only. Gianluigi Donnarumma became the second coming after he helped Italy to only a 1-0 defeat versus Spain. It should have been a lot worse. Italy remains the most confusing team in European football. No World Cup since 2014. Defending champions of Europe, round of 16 exit. The Belgian golden generation is truly all but finished now. Another disappointing result where Lukaku and his worst enemy, VAR, met again. Cristiano Ronaldo had his final Euro and started every game at 39 years of age. He's more than a legend, but it's hard not to think a Diogo Jota, for example, could have come in and contributed more with more game time. Obviously, this wasn't just Ronaldo's fault, but it is a shame that they went out so early, especially as one of the favorites. One of my favorites, at least. Austria, Turkey, Georgia, all of them had great tournaments and all looked like they could have gone a bit deeper than they did. Germany were knocked out in the quarterfinals, despite being, in my eyes at least, the second best team in the entire tournament overall. Didier Deschamps was terrorizing our eyes and emotions with boring defensive football, all while having one of the best crops of players on the planet, and the Netherlands were very much hot and cold throughout. And that brings us to the final two. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of the opinion that England could maybe scrape through and somehow come away with some sort of a result in this final, and don't get me wrong, it's not because I thought it was deserved. England placed as second in this competition, but they were not the second best team. And if we're being completely honest, they probably weren't even third. The story of their tournament was that subs came on with little time to affect the games. Harry Kane was walking around in the midfield for the full 90 at times. There was a point in the Switzerland match where England passed the ball all the way back to Pickford following an attacking corner. I've never seen this happen before. It was surreal. In the final, for the 4th time in just as many matches, England went a goal down and Southgate did what he does best and was reactive, only making changes when the clock was ticking down heavily. And it almost worked again. A wonder goal by a substitute. You could call it a masterstroke by Southgate. You could call it a mistake by Marco Correa for not closing Bellingham down fast enough here before Saka galloped down the wing and sets up the Cole Palmer goal. Choose your narrative, I guess. I think what we can all agree upon is that it was a fantastic strike. And I think a lot of Spaniards that took the time to study this English side before going into this final were feeling a bit of dread as that went in, because it's a script that we've all seen before. But in the end, Spain really didn't have to worry too much because they were by far and away the better side. They pressed faster, they ran harder, they were just more cohesive as a whole. And both of their goals really highlighted England's inability to deal with them. For the first, the Spanish start all the way from Carvajal and Yamal on the right. Morata's run draws two English players away from Yamal, who cuts inside. Yamal then draws the remaining defenders, leaving Williams with an open shot against one of the best defenses of the tournament, Walker, in no man's land. For the second, it comes from the same side. Only difference is that Williams is central and Cucurella now has all the space in the world to deliver an inch-perfect pass to Oyarzabal. This goal was so unbelievably well worked. De La Fuente's own substitutions worked wonders here. I mean, Morata probably wouldn't be in the box to be on the end of that Marc Cucurella cross that eventually led to the assist. And that's just based on how he's been deployed in this competition, where he hasn't always looked to attack the box. In both instances, Spain just moved it too quickly for England to comprehend, which is kind of ironic because Kyle Walker, probably the fastest man on the pitch in that game, could not recover from poor positioning in both cases. Spain are just unbelievable. I've spoken about Spain tactically in this video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about how they won the Euro in this one. The tactics and approach more or less remained the same throughout and in the final, just with a couple minor tweaks to deal with England's specific personnel. They were adaptable in their press, unafraid to throw their tactics to the side in favor of something better, and were a beacon of trust between one another. De La Fuente really did create one big family. I might ramble on a little bit here, but I just want to take some time to talk about 5 Spanish players in particular, not because any of the other players aren't deserving of the same sort of praise, but just because these 5 players in particular have stories or something along those lines that stuck with me for one reason or another. A lot has been said about Lamine Yamal over the Euro. Deservedly so. If you watched even one match of his at Barcelona, even if it was a Champions League match last season, you wouldn't be surprised to see him blossom to become a great player, but I don't think people expected him to be this good this quickly. He has the maturity of a much older player. Even still, in my eyes, Nico Williams was the pick of the two, simply due to his positioning and finesse. He just seems to glide past any defender whenever they're faced up in front of him and always seems to make the right decision. Just seems so polished and like the finished product already. 2 Man of the Match awards, including 1 in the final. 5 years older than Lamine Yamal, yet he is only 22. The two of them combined for 3 goals and 5 assists over the course of the Euro, which is just unbelievable. Rodri, the player of the tournament. Here's a stat for you. As per Squawka, the man has won twice as many major titles as he has lost games over the past 18 months. Here's the list for you. 2 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, a Euro, and that's not even counting the individual awards. So calm on the ball, so dominating, he's press resistant, he scores goals, crucial goals, he challenges with so much aggression and intent, and he claimed Gibraltar for Spain. I didn't know he could do that, but he's on a winning streak, so I'm not going to be the one to tell him. Spain going from Busquets to Rodri basically back to back it's not very fair. It's one of the most outrageous things on the planet. If he were an attacker, he would likely be the only option in the polls for the Ballon d'Or after this tournament. I think he still stands a really good chance of winning the award, but because things are the way they are, you wouldn't really be surprised if he does get snubbed. I guess it's the same reason why Dani Carvajal is probably not going to be in anyone's mind when it comes to who should win this award. The guy that won everything for club and country. Then again, it's not an award based on the amount of trophies you've won in a season, it's an individual award. But if any other attacker won as much as Carvajal or Rodri had this year, I would guess that they would probably be a shoo-in. Anyway, Dani Olmo, baller. I can't say enough good things about this man. If you're a watcher of this channel, you'll know that I really started getting more and more into the Bundesliga about 2 years ago. Before that, I probably only really watched Der Klassiker and not much else. Anyway, Olmo is one of those players that seems to almost always be good, at the very least when he's fit. Fantastic, very frequently. Top scorer for Spain with 3, and he came in with a literal trophy-saving goal line clearance right at the end of the final. That right there is worth 1,000 goals. To think he came into this tournament as a bench player and came out of it having a very strong claim to the player of the tournament speaks volumes. Although Pedri had to return to the nursing bed for this to happen, which is a real shame. I also feel like he just came back from injury. I gotta tell you, man, with him, Gavi, Ansu Fati, and the long list of wonder kids that get run into the ground before they even turn 19, you just have to hope that this doesn't happen to Lamine Yamal. Alvaro Morata, Captain Fantastic, disliked by so many Spaniards. He's very outspoken to criticism and has had his fair share of terrible performances for club and country. I'm not here to speak about any of that, because in this Euro, he never stepped a foot wrong and was immaculate for Spain as their leader and number 9. One goal in the tournament may not sound like much, but if you watched him, you'd see how impactful he actually was. His demeanor on the pitch, the way his teammates interact with him. It's clear that there's a lot of love for him in that dressing room, and listen, if we're all being honest, that probably matters more than anything else. Not what we think. Even still, the 4th highest goal scorer in Spanish history, just behind David Villa, Fernando Torres, and Raul, with plenty time to move up in that order if he continues to play for the national side. He must have felt a huge sense of satisfaction lifting that trophy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to win over some of his doubters. England. The Southgate debate is as old as time, a guy that plays boring defensive football but had a Rolls-Royce lineup and didn't use it to its fullest potential. We know. Combative remarks in the press to criticism, the narrative changes left, right, and center. He's made England a true contender on the world stage again, don't get me wrong. But are his results worth the headaches he subjects his most faithful support to? Well, I guess we don't really have to worry too much about that anymore, because as I was recording this, it was announced that he stepped down from his post. So I have a lot of English friends and family who I speak to quite frequently about this English national side and about Southgate, and you know, the overwhelming response that I seem to get from them is one of appreciation and love. Yes, he hasn't really used the tools that he has to the best of their abilities. At times, they've been really defensive and boring, but at the same time, you do have to understand that these deep cup runs in major competitions, they're kind of unprecedented for people within this current generation. Despite the ups and downs, it seems Southgate has been a galvanizing force. If it helps, maybe that's what people should remember as we find out what happens next. And note that not all hope is lost. In fact, just the opposite. England have a star-studded lineup still. The current crop of players, bar Harry Kane, maybe 1 or 2 others, will likely be playing for England for the next 2 or 3 tournaments at the very least. And I even feel like a guy like Kane will probably still be good enough to play for his national side in 2028. Whoever inherits this squad will have a very promising and experienced team to command. And I say experienced for a reason. England have knocked on the door of glory for so long that it seems just like it's a matter of time before something gives in and they break through. But I don't know, maybe that's just blissful optimism on my part. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Euro. Oh, Argentina won the Copa America. No, I didn't really watch that many Copa America matches, if I'm being completely honest, so I feel like it would probably be a bit of a disservice for me to do any sort of coverage on the competition, outside of like the 1 or 2 Brazil matches that I watched, but they got eliminated pretty early. However, oh my word, did this competition look wild. Stadium stampedes, Darwin Núñez squaring up to fans, Messi crying like we've never seen before, fans sneaking in through vents? What is this? Argentina have only gone ahead and matched Spain's incredible achievement of 2 Euros and a World Cup between 2008 and 2012. A team that a lot of people, mind you, still believe to this day is the best and most dominant international team of all time. I guess it depends on when you were born, right? Serious props to them. And then, as we're all out here celebrating Messi and the accomplishments of this incredible team, Enzo Fernandez decides to post a video of him and the Argentina national team singing a chant against the French national team on the team bus. I'm not gonna read out the lyrics for obvious reasons, but if you really want to know, you can just Google them. They've been doing the rounds. Essentially what this chant says is that all the French players aren't actually French because they all come from Angola. That's right, they beat Colombia in a South American championship final and then immediately started mocking France by saying that all their players come from a Portuguese colony. It's strange. Enzo Fernandez is probably gonna have a fantastic time explaining himself to Axel Disasi, Benoit Badiashile, Malo Gusto, Wesley Fofana, Malang Sarr, Leslie Ugochukwu, and Christopher Nkunku, his French teammates at Chelsea, all of whom were born in France, but are first-generation French, with African descent. Anyway, as most of you guys know, I just like to talk about football on this channel and not much else. So we're gonna leave it at that. It's just been doing the news. Apparently, the French Football Federation has reported the Argentine Football Federation to FIFA. So feels like it's relevant. Anyway, there we have it. Let me know what you guys think about Spain, Argentina, the Euro, all that good stuff. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.